Okay, welcome. We are broadcasting from the studio container at the Roskilde Festival 24. And we are on Friday morning. It's a sunny morning after a lot of rain. But now we are here and the sun is shining with us from the outside on this beautiful container where we are sitting and talking to a few people, listening to our container conversation from the outside. We are here today with Sam Lee and Selma Montgomery, and I am Annesofie Norn. I'm a curator at the Museum for the United Nations who has developed a project called Soundstride together with different partners, musicians, creatives, nature sound recordists, and environmental campaigning and global advocacy organizations. It's a new initiative that is about recognizing nature as an artist, and that way also give her the rights to earn her own money when her music is being played on all global streaming platforms. That way, in her collaborations with artists and through her sounds and streaming platforms, she's able to earn her own money and send them to high impact conservation initiatives. And the reason why we are here with Sam Lee and Selma Montgomery today is that Sam Lee is going to be one of the next Soundstride artists collaborating with us. And Selma De Montgomery might be working with us through the youth organization, a Green Youth Organization in Denmark. So I wanted to open up this session to have a small round of introduction. And when you talk about yourself, I would love to hear you say also a part of your presentation to talk about what is the most touching experience you've had with nature, and also why that has become such a big part of the work you're doing.
Wow, that's a lovely provocation. Shall I begin?
Yes, please.
Okay, thanks, Anne-Marie. It's great to be here. So I come from a background of nature, connection of nature work. Luckily, from a young child, I found the natural world. And I've been out seeking experiences of how to relate, how to commune with nature all my life, and that's been very woven into my music, and sort of seeking mic drop. I've been seeking opportunities of kind of awe and wonder, and where nature can be most explicit and expressive, and as an artist always kind of thinking about sounds. I've very much gravitated towards the sound world, of where music happens, acoustic expressions happen naturally, and so that gets me out the house quite often, particularly for birdsong, but also finding places of sonic wonder, the sound of wind in the trees, which we call susurration, how different trees make different sounds, the impact of that, the kind of the calming aspect. But birds, definitely, and one bird in particular, the nightingale, is a bird that, for me, is the greatest artist of them all. Not that nature has favourites, but I have a favourite. And we're just at the end now in July of the singing season, and sitting in the company of a bird at night in the darkness, very close, and making music with them as well, which is something I do, is for me sacred space.
Yeah. What did you call it when the leaves were touching?
Susurration.
Susurration. Okay, love that word. I think I grew up in the city, so for me, I didn't really think that I needed nature in my life. I felt quite satisfied being in the city. I had this idea that nature was something I could connect to and disconnect from whenever it pleased me. And my way into doing climate activism was mostly based on like the scientific proof that we needed to change, and from like a societal perspective, and not necessarily from like the emotional connection to nature. But I think what I realized as a climate activist is you cannot just connect and disconnect from nature at your own leisure. You have to be aware that we're all a part of nature, that it's not something you can tune into, that it's something that exists around us and within us. And I think having this more holistic view of nature is not only being very outdoorsy and camping, and that's the only way you can connect to nature. Connecting to nature is also just a way of connecting to the world around you and having a sense of care for the things that exist around you. I think that sort of helped me. And I think when it comes to like very specific experiences with nature, then I started, my grandparents have a house in Sweden, and I started going there a lot, especially during Corona. And what I experienced there was the like continuity of coming back. You know, not only being there in the summer as I used to, but also being there in the fall and the winter and the spring, and seeing how the natural processes like developed, that I could follow the same tree, that I could follow the same place and see how it changed during the season. It was like very calming in a time where everything is changing without any rules or framework. It seems random and it feels scary and uncontrollable to see like the system that also exists in nature. I think gave me like a great calmness. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Marika, have you got any exquisite moments of nature in your life?
I think it has always been really a big part of myself. I remember being a small child and going out to the nearby forest and pretending to get lost for a full day, and just being in nature and being kind of very in this tangible experience of being surrounded by something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way you say pretending to be lost. This idea that when we're in the home or in the sort of place of familiarity, then we know where we are, and when we're in nature, we're somehow we're without map. And actually, to challenge that actually maybe then we do this thing where we go to nature to find ourselves. And this idea of what does lost mean, what does the known world and the unknown world mean, and how do we shift that?
And what do you think about? You talk a lot about songful activism, and how to use songs and the emotions of music and sounds of nature to also awaken people to want to take action.
It's a thing. We've got to find all the ways, as Selma you're doing, to tell the story, tell the big story, but also part of that, all the little stories of what's going on, the little observations of shift, of change, of degradation, of loss that's happening. And it's sometimes a really hard one to find ways of not turning people off from the hard facts, the realities, the disconnection, and the avoidance. And song is one of those ones where, for forever, it's been the meditation through which we humans have been able to tell something much bigger and more complex and condense into a way that's sort of, it's the spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down sort of thing, not wanting to sound too trite, that sometimes we can accept the grief, the hardships, the fear, the injustice, the joy, the possibilities. When it's put into song, it's so much more relatable and communicatable. So how do we use, as a singer, as a musician and a composer, how do I use that form to communicate my senses of relationship and all my concerns in a way that can bring people closer into it and not scare people away? So as an activist, which essentially I am through art, what I'm trying to do is build relationship and appreciation, but ultimately it kind of comes down to help people relearn how to love nature, love themselves. We are nature, nature is us. How do we learn to love that bit of ourselves which is around us and we depend on, and know that bit of us a little bit more? And I think songs can transmit and wisdom very well. What do you think, Selma?
No, I think as an activist, I work, like, our main goal is mobilizing people, right? And changing opinions, changing a culture within society. And in our movement, what we experience is that when people join our movement and we talk to them, why didn't you join before? Or what doubts did you have about joining the movement? They always say, I was afraid that I didn't know enough. I didn't know all the graphs. I didn't know all the statistics. I didn't know, I didn't read all the reports. I'm not good with science. I'm not, like, they have all these excuses where it doesn't matter what you know, it matters what you feel, right? And we can all feel that something is off in the way the world is functioning right now. We can all feel this disconnection from nature or the world around us. And if we just, like, slow down and listen to ourselves through music, for example, we can feel that something is off. And that feeling is what we mobilize on as activists when we go to the street. It's not the science necessarily. We use it as an argument when we debate with politicians or try to get a specific policy, climate protection policy or something. But it's the feeling that we need to actually mobilize the masses to take to the streets. And an important tool in doing that is art, because it connects us to climate, like the ecological crises, in a way that arguments and graphs would never be able to.
And what do you think then that this story of nature being an artist on an equal level, or even on a bigger than equal than humans, as we have talked about, Sam, over the last days, what do you think that enables in thinking about engaging people to take action and engaging them through love and care, as you talked about?
Yeah, I actually think it's a really interesting concept. When I was first presented to it, I was a bit skeptical at first, because as activists, we're all the time, like, thinking and reflecting upon, should we work within the system to be able to change the systems? And in that sense, I think it makes a lot of sense to make nature an artist, or whatever you say, in order to be able to articulate the value that we put into nature. And that's also, that's a struggle we face all the time as climate activists, right? Is that we do not know how to articulate what we want to say. We want to say nature has individual value just by being nature. How do we do it? How do we find the words in a system that is built around not appreciating nature?
Nature as an artist, it's an economic concept, it's a social concept, it's a socio-economic, it's a socio-ecological concept. I don't think any of us quite understand what the impact of this is going to be, and that's the beauty of it. It's an unleashing of opportunity. So there's many ways that I could respond to it, why it's brilliant, it's imperfect, but there is no perfect, because we're so messed up right now that we have to take challenges and concepts like this that intrinsically in our heart feel like this is the right first step. So this for me is a moment where it's the first step in reawakening, that artists are able to go and step into a place of like, there's a buzz around it. There's something interesting happening. This is vital. We know this is the right thing. We don't always know what we're doing, and we're just going to take first steps. But that is vital in terms of artists going on their journey of what does nature mean to them. And it's going to be different for every artist. We are the negotiators between us and the wider world. We are the spokespeople in that sense.
And Sam, I know you already do this really beautiful, deep work, bringing artists, musicians, and groups out in forests to listen to the nightingale and play with the nightingale as an equal collaborator during nights in spring. And I wonder, also thinking about how you talk about listening and really opening yourself up to also creating a sense of awe that might enable you to listen to nature, not as a human thing, but as a nature thing, something that's bigger than yourself and that also has an agency, and all the voices, all the sounds has a reason to be there. What is it that you do with people? Would you like to guide us through how you listen and how you help people to listen?
The most important thing is about silence and deep listening, and that's hard to do when there's friends of yours that you want to talk. So I always love doing this exercise where we agree we're going to do 90 minutes of leaving a point together and walking independently of each other, and arrange to meet up at a certain point, make it a little circle walk on your own. If you can take your shoes off and socks off so you're walking barefoot, really helps. Switching off your device so you have no digital interruptions, and going on a walk where you allow your curiosity to be your guide. So following animal footprints, pathways, looking where places of great beauty are, jumping over fences, ignoring all the legalities of trespass as we have as a big issue in our country, in the UK. But as you're going, observing what is around you, why it's there, what stimulates, what makes you feel safe, what is places that are for you threatening, and just allow your curiosity to ask questions of where am I, what is going on here, and when you arrive back, sharing between your friends, taking turns to tell the story of your journey. It's a little bit like telling your dreams, that when you tell your dreams, you realize the significance of why certain things were very pertinent. And that is your allegiance to that journey has provided a real amazing insight into of what your unique connection to nature is, and why those interactions held weight or potency. And it's a really beautiful thing to do, and you'll find you reveal so much about your own life and your friend's life if you can do that post-walk sharing.
And what do you think, Selma, about this as a way to engage people in climate action?
Yeah. I think I really like the aspect of reconnecting to nature as a collective action, because sometimes it can also get very new age, finding yourself through nature and with a very individual focus, where as an activist, I'm working with how we create change for the bigger whole, and of course that's also connected to creating change within ourselves. But what you experience as an activist is that action always works better when it's done in a community, when it's done together. No one knows what works when it comes to doing activism. We just have to use all the different tools that we can think of, and somehow it might click, and change is not always tangible. You cannot always feel it or see it as soon as it happened, but you're planting seeds in people's minds. I often like to think that's what I'm doing as an activist. I might not see the change that we're creating in my movement at once, but we're planting seeds in people when we talk, when we speak, when we go to the streets, when we do campaigning, when you do these nature meditation walks. You're planting seeds that might grow at some point, that might help create change in some sense. And I think I think that's important to remember also when you don't see an output right away.
Maybe what I will say, if we've time, is that what we are as a species is story makers, and we have to learn how to be better storytellers, and nature has forever been the place where we have learnt how to communicate the most exciting and the most attractive story. So I think there's a lot to learn from that then will come into our activism. And when we as activists have stories to tell of why we're so determined to protect that little bit of land or that nation or that entire planet, then we become better at communicating what is important to us.
Thank you so much. We need to start wrapping up. I wanted to ask if you have a last one thing you want to say to Nature the artist who is at the lineup at Roskilde Festival this year, doing a lot of different activities. Do you have a message to him that you would like to leave?
This is going to go out to all the sound men and women. Can I have more nature in the monitor, please?
Yes, we'll send that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just want to say thank you, and I'm sorry. If I could say one thing to nature, it's that.
Yes. We try to do better.